The Last of Us series co-creator Neil Druckmann says he wants to wind down his video games work. Not that many big budget titles left in him. That's assuming you had any to begin with. Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to the GNRO Minicast. I am your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drak. I hope everybody's having an awesome day or night when you're listening to this. And we have yet another story coming to us from boundingintocomics.com. By the author Spencer McCooley. And if you're brand spanking new to the channel, then I hate to tell you this, but The Last of Us, to me, not a good series, either as a game or as a TV series. And Neil Druckmann, not a good writer. I've given him plenty of chances. In fact, The Last of Us series was his chance to be able to prove himself to me, and frankly, he didn't do it. He hit all three strikes. So with that being said, the article that we're taking into account, I find a little funny because I kind of predicted that this was going to happen years ago, is that he was basically going to be a little parasite and work and leech off of somebody else's work, namely Amy Hennig, and then eventually he was going to use his newfound stardom to basically leave Naughty Dog in the shell that it is and go on to work on his, quote, writing career. Gee, it's almost like I predicted this a couple of years ago, and therefore I'm laughing about it. So why don't you join the laugh along with me? In a development that will no doubt come as welcome news to players tired of his pretentious stranglehold on Naughty Dog Studios. Yeah, by the way, he's like the president of it. The Last of Us series co-creator Neil Druckmann has admitted that the prospect of winding down his video game work is becoming more and more appealing to him every day. But Neil, you did no work at all. You just leeched off other people. I don't know why you would feel exhausted. Druckmann provided this insight into his current outlook on life during an appearance on the 7th episode of Rapper Logic's Logically Speaking podcast. Asked by the show's eponymous host, do you see yourself making video games forever, or have new passions arisen in you? He never had passion for video games to begin with. He just saw them as a nice little way to be able to get into Hollywood. And honestly, dude, you could have easily just sucked somebody's cock. That would probably have taken less effort. The Naughty Dog creative director admitted that while he's had other opportunities that I've really enjoyed, working on an HBO show, working on The Last of Us, themed haunted house for Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios, in terms of video games, I don't see myself doing this forever at this scale. And what he's probably referring to is the rising amount of cost in order to be able to make a good video game. The fact that he isn't a very good writer, much less a president of a company, and more importantly, he has no talent to begin with. So at that point, he is just a plain parasite. He had no passion for video games. I don't think he really has any passion for what he's doing in Hollywood. And frankly, he just wants to wind things down so he can be a professional leech and just sit by the pool. It's just a lot, and it takes a lot out of you. I'm sure it does, Neil, asserted the Uncharted Drake's Fortune and Uncharted 2 Among Thieves and Uncharted 4 A Thief's End co-writer. Yeah, co-writer to Amy Hennig on 2 of those, and that just shows you that he has no talent. He had to get her out of the company first. It's just stressful to manage that many people in multiple studios worldwide. Really? In other words, you can't do it. Turning to provide an explanation as to the main reason behind his changing attitude towards his career, Druckmann then told Logic, "You were talking earlier in the conversation about how you were entering this new phase in your life when your kids are number one. Oh, he has kids? Yeah, sure. Oh no, he's talking to Logic about that. And I'm in a similar place where my kids are number one. Oh, he has kids? I am so sorry, Neil's kids. My daughter's now 13. Oh, so she's capable of being murdered in your video game series. And I feel like life is pulling her away from me. So I know that time is limited, so it's very precious to me when they want to spend time with me. What, you just want to leech off of them too? So that's number one," he added. "So yeah, I've just hit a point in my life where it's like, what's the end game here? When is it time to call it?" It was time to call it years ago, Neil, but that's just me. And as if it weren't clear enough from both his earlier statement, as well as his embarrassing desperate appearance on the Golden Globes red carpet, Druckmann then dropped a major hint that his prospective future lay in Hollywood.
Oh, is that right? Well, I sure hope somebody picks up that phone. Because I f***ing called it!
Revealing that he had been looking to director Quentin Tarantino for inspiration as to his next career move. Yeah, sure, whatever. And you know, I've been watching a lot of interviews of Quentin Tarantino, and his whole thing is, I'm gonna make 10 movies and that's it. And I'm very curious whether he sticks to that. I think he'll probably do other stuff, like he'll do TV shows. Actually, Quentin has said no, he doesn't like the prospect of that. So I could see myself transitioning to something that's more low-key and lower stress that still allows me to have this creative outlet. But you know, I've started thinking about how many more games do I have in me. He concluded his thoughts on the topic, and it's not that many, which was no problem for you before when you became the head of Naughty Dog. He's either a VP or the president. I believe he's the president of it. So obviously games is not your passion. So why are you there, Neil? Congratulations, Naughty Dog. You got destroyed for one man's pointless, soulless, leeching ambition. I almost wish he'd stick around so that Sony could bitch slap him a few more times, but something tells me they've already bitch slapped him a little bit because he lost his multiplayer game, and the fact that Last of Us Part 3 is taking so long to happen, I have a feeling he's leaving also because Sony is bitch slapping him in the background. Ultimately, how many more actual futures titles does Druckmann will work on, and how many of them, if any, will be anything more than a graphical upgrade of either The Last of Us or The Last of Us Part 2 remains to be seen. Because that's basically all he's good for, is Last of Us and Last of Us Part 2, even though Last of Us was not entirely his project because Amy Hennig did work on it, and we have confirmed that she did work on it. And he basically leached off of her and then got her out of the company so she didn't get any credit. What I'm saying is that Neil is a very vain person. And the fact that he has garnered as much success as he has, I know people are not going to be happy when I say this, but he doesn't deserve any of it, frankly. If you want to give credit to somebody, go give it to Amy Hennig, who at least came up with this idea, not to him. Because all he did was wreck it. Just like all he did for Naughty Dog was wreck it. Meanwhile, his next project set for release, the second season of HBO's The Last of Us television adaptation, will do sometime in 2025, where he's already adapting the events of Last of Us Part 2 from what people have told me, and just like the first series, I didn't watch it, and I have no intention of watching it. Yeah, for those who are brand spanking new on this, he's already had his 3 strikes with me. The Last of Us ultimately could have ended up better, and it did end up a strike in his name as far as I'm concerned, because even with Amy Hennig, I love Amy Hennig's writing, and she's written a lot of franchises that I absolutely love, but I hate The Last of Us. I hate the setting, I hate the characters, I do not like any aspect of it, so that was strike 1. Left Behind, where then we started adding in DEI bullshit, and that was 100% Druckmann, that's strike 2, and then Last of Us Part 2 is ultimately strike 3. Neil Druckmann is the sole reason why I refuse to buy any more Naughty Dog games until he is gone. Once he's gone, which granted could also mean the destruction of Naughty Dog, once he's gone, then I'll consider it. But ultimately, I have a feeling that Naughty Dog will be dead after he leaves, which is sad because Naughty Dog has a storied history, and thankfully its developers have moved on and are having storied histories themselves, but Naughty Dog will just have to fade into the background. As far as my opinion on this article, this is nothing new. Neil was ultimately going to use Naughty Dog to be able to get himself into Hollywood, and ultimately, as soon as he got into Hollywood, he was going to find ways to not have to do things as much. I love the fact that he's admiring Tarantino. I almost wonder, do you want to be the next Tarantino, Neil? Is that what you're trying to do here? Because I'm not the biggest fan of Quentin Tarantino, but I can already tell you he's got a lot more chops than you. So at that point, no, you're not going to be the next Tarantino. And as soon as you run out of steam, which is going to happen, HBO is going to drop you like they have so many other series in the past. And I look forward to that day, and I look forward to basically pissing on the grave that is your career as soon as it is done, and never seeing you ever again. The only thing that I wish is that the people of Naughty Dog who got screwed by you could ultimately go not only spit on your corpse, but take some of your fortune that should have gone to them. That's my ultimate opinion on this, and that's all I've got for today. Thank you so much to Spencer Bercouli for your article on Neil Druckmann. If you disagree with me on The Last of Us or whatnot, feel free to leave a comment down below. Whether or not I acknowledge you, that's up to me. Or if you agree with my opinion, consider leaving a like and maybe even a subscribe to the channel. Or maybe if you think I was just bold enough for saying what I actually think about Neil Druckmann, consider doing that, because that actually helps out with the algorithm and such. And I will be back next time for the next GNRO Minicast, but this one I had to tackle because Neil Druckmann can kiss my ass. Till next time, everybody.